What's up guys, Panic here, otherwise known as Panic Picnic, and today as you can see I already rebeat the Witchwood with Toki. She's actually pretty easy. This is actually, like I said, my second time. It's 27 out of 2. I mean, that's still pretty good. Like I said, it's a lot better than what I've been running on my other characters. This is one of the reasons why I'm saying she's super easy. I'm actually going to give you a few tidbits and something that actually might help you when you're going through your solo runs. Also, I'm going to show you like a few bit of cards that I would highly recommend, or just some cards that in general just flat out counter some characters. Again, you can use these little hints and tips on other characters as well as your own playthroughs, which is always pretty good. So let's go and go through a little bit of the deck list. So I went with started off with passive. Your spells cost 1 less. This is actually really good. It actually allows you, and as you saw in my previous video, because this is actually the same continuation of the one with the Echo, you can actually insta-kill him pretty easy, and also it allows you to do more of a spell-based build, which I think is really fun. Also, you can do a lot more random with the amount of spells you get, especially if you go for a lot more shifting scrolls. The next thing I went through is I actually got small backpacks, passive at the start of the game, draw 2 cards. This is actually really, really good. Actually, I think I started with this one first. It's pretty good because it doesn't really, you don't get a lot of card draw with a lot of the cards that you do pick up. So this does add like a lot of things you can do, and it allows you to get into the cards you need a lot quicker. Let's see. I got a few arcane missiles. I actually went with some babbling books, battle cry, add a random mage spell to your hand. I think this is really good, especially with Toki's hero power. You can just play a bunch of these and you can just reset depending on what you get. Plus with the passive costing 1 less on your mana for the spells you use, this is actually really, really good. Just throw out a whole bunch of babbling books and then just spam with what you have. One of the treasures I picked up was Essence-O-Matic. I think this is really, really good because you can actually get like, I know you can get a whole bunch of random spells, and yes, that is a problem because it is a random spells that you're getting, but it will fully fill up your hand, which is pretty good, especially you just get it early. It's going to cost 0, at least for me, because I had my spells costing 1 less. And then when I do pick this, all the spells I get are going to cost 1 less. And then on top of it, if I just have like no cards in my hand and it's getting down to a pretty desperate situation, this Enhance-O-Matic will fill me up and I can at least get something out of it. And if I don't get, I can just reset the turn with my hero power and then just hope I get something a little bit better. I didn't really go for the full mana worm thing. I think it's pretty good, but I just had the one and just kept it. I actually went with the spell Open the Waygate. I don't really recommend it, even though in my opinion it feels like they're trying to push this option onto you. And the main reason why is because when you do get the Time Warp, that 5 mana cost, you have to like fully plan it out. You have to go, hey, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to be able to get my Time Warp, and then I'm going to be able to end something. While yes, you can do some things with it, like it can save you, and it did save me on this little robot, it's not necessary, and you can avoid it. Like I said, it's not necessary. It's more of a quality of life thing, especially if you do go for a spell-based build. I went for 1 Arcanologist. It's okay. I mean, you get to draw a secret, even though I didn't have a whole lot of secrets. The only ones I did have, I thought I would need, but I really didn't. Flame Cannon's pretty good. I think you start with these. A lot of these you start with. Primordial Glyphs, if you can get more of these, it's always good because you can reduce its cost by 2. Also, if you have the passive that reduces your spell cost, it's reduced by 3. It's all good. I did do Sorcerer's Apprentice. While I wasn't able to play it, I like to have the ability for my spells to cost like 0 in total. Also, if I do, what's really nice is if you do get Sorcerer's Apprentice and you do have the passive, you get a spell that does do Echo. One thing that comes to mind that I was able to really beat was I got a Paladin spell, the Paladin Bell, that increases the attack by 1 and the health by 2. I was actually able to just spam that. It was actually kind of sad for the opponent, because once I got that spell, there was no way for them to beat me. And while I do think it's a very low probability that you're going to be getting some of those spells, it's still an option, and it's still pretty funny when it does happen. I did go for a little bit more unstable portals, as you saw. Like, I just had like a whole bunch of spell-based. I just went for more of a spell-based build. And also, when it reduces it by 3 less, it's pretty good. Like, it allows me to fluctuate with the curve, or it allows me to fluctuate with what type of mana I'm going to be spending next turn. Also, I can boost up my mana worm if I am able to draw it, because I'm drawing 5 cards, remember, because I've got the small backpack. But the 3 less is what's really good, because you can get some, especially in the early game, when you draw, like, let's say a Ysera, or if you do get a Lich King, and you don't have a whole lot of late game potential, like, that's going to give it to you. Also, when you get the cards back from them, they're going to lower their spell costs as well. So I think it's pretty good if you're able to get some of those. I think I had 1 Cinderstorm. This one's just okay. It's not really necessary. I mean, 5 damage randomly split. Just random it and hope for the best. Duplicate's pretty good, like, especially if you can just set it up. Like, if you do get something on your side of the field, it's always pretty good. Frozen Clone, this is good, especially if you're going for a spell-based build. I would highly recommend it. This was mainly the only secret I really wanted more than anything, is because, as you can see, I don't have a whole lot of minions in this deck, and Frozen Clone really gives me that minion for free, especially some of the minions that the AI play are a little bit predictable, and that's what makes it, I mean, like, they'll play a big minion first, and when I get that, or even a top minion, like, it does come in handy. Spells Lingers, as you can see, I got 5. This is just what I was able to get. It's not the best card in the world, but like I said, random spells to each player hands, and it combos well with the quest I had. And also, you never know what you're really going to get. Also, it can fill up your hand. Like, you can just, like, let's say this is the only card you get, you can constantly just use these, and you can get something back, and hopefully to be able to turn the tide, and if not, just reset. Also gives you a monster on the field, which is always good. Tinkermaster Overspark, while this is in your deck already, I would never actually play this. Like, even if, because there's no guarantee of what is going to happen when you play it. While I understand it's meant to be that way, to give it a little sense of randomization, and it does combo with her ability, like with her hero power, there's no guarantee that you're going to get a 5/5 Devilsaur on your side of the field, or there's no guarantee that you're going to turn the enemy into a 1/1 squirrel. You'd be like, you try it and you're like, oh man, this sucks. Now you're forced to reset, and then you just, well, he's the only card you have to play. It's like, do I really want to take that risk again? And I would personally, I'm not up for that risk. Vescro, I actually got him last. He was actually one of my late picks, so I didn't really fully use him. I mean, I guess he's an okay with how the build is, but I mean, he just filled the board, but I mean, he's just okay. Water Elemental, you start with. Blingatron. Okay, now this is one I actually want to talk about, and this is the one you can use in your own playthrough, especially if you think you're going up against the Reaper. Now, for me, the Reaper is actually kind of hard, especially on some characters, that you do have to play around with his weapon. With every time it kills something, it gets 1+ attack, and it constantly keeps going up. And eventually, you're just going to be overwhelmed by his weapon, and that's kind of sucks, and it's kind of a bad thing to have happen. Especially since he'll do it, and he'll summon like a giant taunt minion that has like Divine Shield or Taunt, and he'll have like 9 HP, and you really can't get around it. And then you're just like, I don't want to play anything, because then I'm just gonna lose, because he's just, I don't want to play anything because he's just going to hit it with his weapon, or because he's really good at math and he just totals it out, so he's the one getting the kill and boosting himself. Well, Blingatron, the reason why I say you can use this in your own thing is when you equip a random weapon for each player, not only do you get a weapon, but you actually replace his weapon. So you're replacing the Reaper's scythe, and it's just completely gone. That means whatever makes the Reaper, he can't do anything. Like, his scythe is completely gone. He can't get it back. There's no death rattle. Like, as far as I know, that scythe cannot really be destroyed. But I know that Blingatron will, when it is replaced, the scythe is out of the game. Like, you don't have to worry about the Reaper attacking you ever again, with the exception of whatever weapon you gave him. And hopefully you gave him a really garbage weapon. So that's why I would say, like, Blingatron is actually imperative if you're gonna go up against the Reaper, or you think you might. Like I said, I didn't fully expect to go up against the Reaper, because when I went played Toki the first time, I actually went up against an evil version of Toki, and that's the one where I mentioned that she can get a couple of really good cards, like filling the entire board with gnomes, and that's, if you get that card, it's actually pretty OP, just a heads up. I went with Summoning Stone as well. Like I said, this was more just to get more little spells, but I never actually really played it. I mean, I was pretty much good with unstable portals and just making spells, and that's really just how I went about things. This treasure spell that I was able to get this time was actually Amalgamate. Now, this is actually a really good spell if you don't get the if you can't get the dwarf one. I mean, the gnome one. I would actually say they're kind of equal, but the gnome one has a little bit more early game potential because I believe it's only 3 cost mana, which isn't bad at all. Now, the reason Amalgamate is so good and it actually helped me win is because it destroys all minion and you summon an amalgamation with a combined attack and health. Like, there's nothing more that needs to really be said about that. Just throw out some of the big minions that you have, especially if you're getting these minions from the unstable portals that reduce their cost. And especially if the enemy has something that you just can't really get rid of. I mean, the Reaper, in my case, had taunt and like an entire array of robots and mechs, and I was like, I just got lucky, and I just drew Amalgamate, and I was like, what are you going to do? I have a 22 on my side of the field. What are you going to do? They can't do anything, and unless they have like some sort of clear, like to specifically target something, Amalgamate's just really just going to wipe the board, and it's great. The last one I went with was, I went with Ronan. He was really the only one that I could have gotten. Like, I looked at everything else, and there was nothing I really wanted. I didn't really pick him for his death rattle. I didn't pick him for anything else. I more so picked him because he had spells that was under him, and that's really about it. That's really about it for Ronan. Like, I mean, he's just Ronan. He's okay. That being said, my name is Panic Picnic. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I really hope that being able to deal with the Reaper and being able to deal with the Whisperer is pretty good. Also, like I said, if you can get this, that reduces your spells that cost by 1, that costs 0, and that will able to insta-kill the Reaper, which is pretty good. That being said, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you boys at the next at the picnic table. Bye!